Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something that literally every homeowner dreads, but we absolutely have to talk about it: water damage. Now, when water invades your home, it is not just some simple mess where you can grab a mop and a bucket and be done with it. Nope, it's actually a highly aggressive, fast-moving scientific process. Seriously, it acts almost like a living entity just hunting for dry materials, and it can radically alter your home's entire environment in a matter of hours. To fight it, we need a precise, rapid, and very scientific response.
So let's jump right into Section 1, the threat of water damage.
Let me ask you something. Honestly, what would you do if a pipe burst in your home right now? Like at this exact second. It's a massive, high-stakes scenario, and the clock literally starts ticking the millisecond that water hits your floor. Most of us, we kind of freeze, or maybe we just grab a handful of beach towels, completely underestimating just how much water a standard supply line can pump out in, say, 5 minutes. We really have to shift our mindset here. It's not about cleaning up a spill, it's about stopping an active disaster in its tracks.
To make this a bit more concrete, let's look at a real-world example: Gahanna, Ohio. It's basically a perfect microcosm for water vulnerability. You can really see how local geography and infrastructure kind of team up to create a massive risk. You've got the Big Walnut Creek causing spring flooding, right? Then you add in this dense, clay-rich soil that just refuses to drain, essentially pushing all that water straight against basement walls. Throw in some beautiful historic neighborhoods with pre-modern waterproofing, and pit them against brutal Ohio winter freeze-thaw cycles? Yeah, that is a textbook recipe for cracked pipes and massive leaks.
But it's not just about where the water comes from, it's about what kind of water it actually is. The restoration industry, specifically the ICRC, breaks water contamination down into 3 distinct levels. Category 1, that's clean water, like what you'd get from a burst supply line. Category 2 is gray water. Think a washing machine overflow, so it's got some contaminants in there. And then there's Category 3, black water. This is highly toxic stuff, sewage or river flood water. But here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. These categories can and will escalate. If you leave Category 1 clean water just sitting there soaking into your drywall, it's going to absorb contaminants and rapidly morph into a highly dangerous Category 2 or 3 situation.
Which brings us to Section 2, the race against time.
That escalation we just talked about. It means water damage compounds every single hour it sits untreated. It doesn't just politely pool on the floor waiting for you to clean it up. It actively wicks vertically up your drywall. It creeps horizontally across your subfloors. It literally destroys materials exponentially faster the longer it sits there, especially in humid environments where the air itself basically becomes a catalyst for all this destruction.
Let's actually track how this builds, hour by hour. At hour 0, standing water starts delaminating your floors and ruining your baseboards instantly. Fast forward just 48 hours, and this is an absolutely critical threshold. This is when mold colonization begins. Microscopic spores find that nice, damp drywall, and they multiply like crazy. If industrial extraction hasn't happened by now, your simple little leak has officially morphed into a hazardous mold remediation project. Finally, days 3 to 5. This is typically when professionals achieve complete structural drying, but again, that's assuming they were called in right at the start.
Moving on to Section 3, the science of drying. So, how do the pros actually stop this monster? Well, enter a term called psychrometrics. It sounds like something straight out of an advanced physics lab, and honestly, it basically is. It's the study of air and moisture relationships. Professionals use this science to perfectly balance temperature, humidity, and air movement. Because, spoiler alert here, just opening a window and pointing a cheap desk fan at a soaking wet carpet, yeah, that's not going to cut it. If you use too much heat, you end up warping the wooden framing. If you don't have enough air movement, evaporation just completely stalls out. It is a highly scientific, calculated balancing act designed to coax moisture out of your home's materials as fast as physically possible without ruining them.
To actually apply all this science, certified technicians follow a really strict 3-step protocol. Step 1 is emergency assessment and extraction. They bring in these massive truck-mounted extractors to literally pull up thousands of gallons of standing water. Step 2 is structural drying and monitoring. This is where those psychrometrics come into play, utilizing serious commercial dehumidifiers and taking daily readings with moisture meters. And finally, Step 3 is complete restoration and final approval, making sure your property is put back together perfectly, right up to code.
Now you might be wondering, what is the exact goal here? Well, the magic number is 15%. That is the absolute maximum moisture content target for wood framing. Professionals aren't just touching a wall and guessing if it feels dry. They use incredibly advanced moisture meters. The wood framing inside your house must hit 15% or lower to guarantee structural integrity and keep the mold away.
And drywall, by the way, that has to drop below 1%. It's literally a game of absolute precision.
All right, let's look at Section 4, mitigation versus restoration.
A lot of people tend to use these two terms interchangeably, but they are actually entirely different phases of the battle. Remediation, which is also called mitigation, is your emergency response. This is the extraction of the water, the sanitation, ripping out ruined insulation, basically stopping the active threat. Restoration, on the other hand, is the rebuild phase. That's putting up the fresh drywall, laying down beautiful new hardwood floors, painting the walls. You absolutely need both of them, but remember this rule of thumb. You cannot even begin the restoration process until remediation has scientifically proven that the environment is 100% dry.
Finally, let's get into Section 5, navigating the insurance maze.
Because, let's be real, all this science and reconstruction costs a lot of money. If disaster strikes, here is your immediate action plan to survive that insurance maze. First, safely stop the water source if you can. Second, turn off the electricity in the affected areas so you don't create a shock hazard. Third, and please listen to this one, do not use a standard household vacuum on standing water or you seriously risk electrocution. Fourth, document literally everything with photos and videos. Trust me, your insurance adjuster is going to demand this. And finally, call in the professionals immediately.
When you finally do get on the phone with your insurance company, almost everything is going to hinge on one simple concept: sudden and accidental versus gradual neglect. This is the absolute crux of whether you're getting a payout or a big fat denial. If a pipe freezes and bursts in your attic totally out of nowhere, that is sudden and accidental. You're usually covered. But if you've had a slow, dripping leak from some corroded washing machine hose that you just kind of ignored for 6 months, yeah, adjusters are going to call that deferred maintenance or gradual neglect, and there's a very high chance they will deny your claim entirely.
And that leads me to a massive warning for anyone thinking they can just tackle this kind of thing on their own. Visible damage only tells part of the story. Cheap do-it-yourself fixes almost always fail because they are only addressing the water you can actually see with your own 2 eyes. They completely miss the hidden moisture trapped deep inside your wall cavities or under your expensive tiles. And ignoring that hidden moisture, that is what leads to absolutely massive out-of-pocket costs down the road, when structural rot and black mold inevitably take over the whole shebang. So I really want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. If the clock started ticking on a hidden leak in your home right now, today, are you prepared for the next 48 hours? Do you even know exactly where your main water shutoff valve is located? Because understanding the hidden science of water damage isn't just about, appreciating psychrometrics. It's about knowing exactly how to react when the water inevitably comes for your home. Stay informed, stay prepared, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.